Have you ever finished dinner, gone to bed feeling completely normal, and then wondered why you woke up with a pounding headache, a racing heartbeat, or unusually high blood pressure the next morning? What if I told you that one of the foods sitting in your kitchen right now, something millions of adults over 70 eat before bed every single night, could quietly make it harder for your heart and blood vessels to do their job while you sleep? Even more surprising, many people choose these foods because they believe they're harmless, comforting, or even healthy. But according to cardiovascular experts, what you eat during the last few hours before sleep can influence blood pressure, blood sugar, hydration, inflammation, and the quality of your sleep, all of which play important roles in long-term stroke risk. Now, before we go any further, I want to make one thing very clear. Eating any one food on this list does not automatically cause a stroke. Stroke is a complex medical condition influenced by many factors, including age, genetics, smoking, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, physical activity, medications, and overall diet. Tonight's discussion is about everyday habits that may gradually increase risk over time in some people, especially older adults who already have underlying cardiovascular conditions. Understanding these habits gives you the opportunity to have informed conversations with your healthcare provider and make choices that support healthier aging. And I especially want you to stay with me until the very end because the number one food surprises almost everyone. In fact, many older adults proudly eat it every evening because they've been told it's a healthy bedtime snack, yet depending on your health condition, the portion, and the timing, it may not always be the best choice before going to sleep. That final food changed the evening routine of one retired couple after their cardiologist explained something they had never considered. Before we begin, I'd love to know your age and where you're watching from. Leave a comment below because it's always encouraging to see people from around the world taking an active interest in protecting their health. And if you enjoy practical, evidence-informed wellness videos, consider subscribing so you never miss future content. Now, let's begin with a bedtime favorite that seems almost impossible to believe could belong on this list. Imagine it's 9 o'clock in the evening. You finished dinner several hours ago, you're watching your favorite TV program, and you suddenly feel a little hungry. You walk into the kitchen, open the pantry, and grab a handful of potato chips, crackers, pretzels, or another salty snack. It seems harmless, it's only a small portion, besides, you're not eating an entire meal. But here's what many people don't realize. After the age of 70, the body often becomes less efficient at regulating sodium and fluid balance. At the same time, many older adults are already living with high blood pressure, heart disease, kidney disease, or taking medications that affect fluid regulation. A salty bedtime snack may not seem significant, but repeated night after night, it can contribute to excess sodium intake as part of an overall diet. Why does that matter? Because sodium influences how much fluid your body retains. Excess sodium can contribute to higher blood pressure in many people, and uncontrolled high blood pressure remains one of the most important risk factors for stroke. Think of your blood vessels like a garden hose. When the pressure inside that hose becomes consistently higher than it's designed to handle, the walls experience greater stress over time. That doesn't mean the hose immediately bursts, but years of unnecessary pressure increase wear and tear on the entire system. Your arteries behave in a similar way. This is one reason healthcare professionals place such a strong emphasis on controlling blood pressure throughout life, especially after 70. Here's something many families discover only after reading nutrition labels for the first time. Some packaged snacks contain far more sodium than people expect. And because they're easy to eat while watching television, it's surprisingly common to consume more than the intended serving size without realizing it. One handful becomes 2, then 3. Before long, a snack that seemed insignificant contributes a large amount of the day's sodium intake. Now, does this mean you can never enjoy a salty snack again? Not at all. Healthy eating isn't about perfection, it's about patterns. If salty processed foods become an everyday bedtime habit, replacing them more often with options like unsalted nuts in appropriate portions, fresh vegetables with hummus, or other lower sodium choices may better support overall cardiovascular health, depending on your individual dietary needs. One 74-year-old gentleman believed his blood pressure medication wasn't working anymore because his readings remained elevated every morning. After discussing his daily routine with a dietitian, he realized he was eating processed snack foods almost every evening before bed, Over the following weeks, he reduced those bedtime snacks as part of a broader heart-healthy eating plan recommended by his healthcare team. His morning blood pressure gradually became more consistent, along with several other lifestyle improvements. The important lesson wasn't that potato chips caused his high blood pressure. It was that many small habits, repeated consistently, often work together, and when those habits improve together, health often improves with them. But don't assume sodium is the biggest bedtime mistake, because the next food surprises even more people. In fact, millions of older adults believe they're making a healthier choice when they eat it before bed. Some even eat it every single night because they think it helps them sleep better. But depending on the portion and what's added to it, this popular evening snack may cause something that your blood vessels don't appreciate at all. Have you ever poured yourself a generous bowl of ice cream? Or enjoyed a large slice of cake, cookies, pastries, or other sweet desserts shortly before going to sleep? Most people think of sugar as an issue for diabetes. Very few think about what it may mean for the heart and brain. When you consume foods high in added sugars late in the evening, your blood sugar may rise more rapidly, particularly if the meal contains very little fiber or protein. While the body's response differs from person to person, repeated spikes in blood sugar over time may contribute to insulin resistance and make blood sugar management more difficult for some individuals. For older adults already living with diabetes or prediabetes, this becomes especially important because diabetes itself is a major risk factor for stroke and cardiovascular disease. But there's another reason cardiologists often encourage limiting heavy sugary desserts before bed. Large amounts of sugar shortly before sleep may interfere with sleep quality in some people. And poor sleep has been associated with several health conditions, including high blood pressure and reduced overall cardiovascular health. Think of sleep as your body's overnight maintenance period. While you rest, countless repair processes are taking place. Your heart rate changes, hormones shift, tissues recover, and your brain performs important housekeeping functions. Anything that consistently disrupts restorative sleep deserves attention, not because one restless night causes a stroke, but because years of poor quality sleep may contribute to poorer health outcomes. One retired nurse admitted she ended every evening with a large bowl of premium ice cream because it had become a comforting ritual after her husband passed away. She never connected that habit with her restless sleep or her morning blood sugar readings until she discussed it with her physician. Together, they developed a different evening routine that included smaller portions and healthier alternatives more often than before. She didn't eliminate every dessert forever. She simply changed the pattern. And sometimes, changing the pattern is exactly where healthier aging begins. But here's something that cardiologists say deserves even more attention, because the next bedtime food isn't salty, it isn't sweet. In fact, many people consider it one of the healthiest foods they can possibly eat. So why do some heart specialists recommend being careful about eating large amounts of it right before bed? Now let me ask you something that may sound surprising. Have you ever finished dinner feeling completely satisfied, only to slice up a large bowl of fruit an hour before bed because you believed it was the healthiest possible nighttime snack? After all, fruit is full of vitamins, antioxidants, and fiber. How could it possibly be a problem? The answer is, for most people, fruit is absolutely part of a healthy diet. But timing, portion size, and individual health conditions can matter more than many people realize. This is especially true after the age of 70. Here's why. As we grow older, our metabolism changes. Many seniors also develop conditions such as diabetes, prediabetes, or insulin resistance. While whole fruit is generally a healthier choice than processed desserts, eating very large portions of naturally sweet fruits immediately before bed may cause larger blood sugar fluctuations in some people, particularly if they're eaten alone, without protein or healthy fats. Again, this doesn't mean fruit causes strokes, it doesn't. The concern is whether repeated late-night eating habits contribute to poorer blood sugar control over time in people who are already at increased cardiovascular risk. Think about it this way. Your body is preparing for several hours of sleep. During that time, your activity level decreases dramatically. A very large serving of grapes, mangoes, bananas, or dried fruit right before lying down may affect people differently than eating moderate portions earlier in the day as part of balanced meals. One 78-year-old grandmother believed she had discovered the perfect bedtime routine. Every night she filled a large bowl with grapes, bananas, raisins, and honey because she wanted to avoid processed desserts. When she later met with a registered dietitian to better manage her diabetes, she learned that while every ingredient was nutritious individually, the overall portion and timing weren't ideal for her specific health needs. Instead of eliminating fruit altogether, she adjusted the serving size, spread fruit intake throughout the day, and paired it with foods containing protein when appropriate. The result wasn't perfection, it was balance. And that's often the biggest difference between healthy habits and unhealthy ones. Here's something even more interesting. Many people spend enormous amounts of time worrying about sugar, while completely overlooking another bedtime food that may influence blood pressure even more: processed meats. Have you ever prepared a quick late-night sandwich with ham, bacon, sausage, pepperoni, or salami because it was convenient? It takes only a few minutes. It tastes satisfying, and you don't have to cook, but convenience doesn't always mean your cardiovascular system appreciates it. Processed meats are often high in sodium, and some also contain preservatives, such as nitrates or nitrites used during processing. Eating them occasionally is different from making them a nightly habit, but regular consumption, as part of an overall diet, has been associated with poorer cardiovascular health in many population studies. Cardiologists often encourage people to look at eating patterns rather than individual meals. One sandwich won't determine your future. One serving of bacon won't suddenly cause a stroke. But years of frequent consumption of heavily processed foods may gradually move your health in the wrong direction, especially when combined with smoking, inactivity, uncontrolled blood pressure, diabetes, or elevated cholesterol. Imagine your arteries as the plumbing inside an older home. Every healthy decision is like performing regular maintenance. Every unhealthy habit adds a little more wear. You may not notice the difference after one day, you probably won't notice it after 1 week, but after years, those small decisions begin adding up. One retired truck driver admitted he had eaten processed meat sandwiches almost every night for decades because they were quick and inexpensive. When his physician recommended following a more heart-conscious eating plan after his blood pressure remained difficult to control, he gradually replaced several of those evening meals each week with grilled chicken, fish, beans, or other less processed protein sources. He didn't change everything overnight. He simply improved his routine one habit at a time. And that's exactly how sustainable lifestyle changes usually happen. But don't assume processed meat is the biggest surprise on today's list, because the next bedtime food is found in almost every supermarket. Millions of older adults buy it because the package says things like low-fat, healthy, light, or heart-friendly. Yet after looking closely at the nutrition label, many people discover something completely unexpected. Some of these products contain surprisingly high amounts of added sugar, sodium, or refined carbohydrates to improve flavor after reducing fat. Marketing on the front of a package tells only part of the story. The nutrition label tells the rest. That's why healthcare professionals often recommend turning the package over before placing it into your shopping cart. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. How much sodium does it contain? How much added sugar is included? What does the ingredient list actually say? Those 3 questions can reveal far more than the marketing ever will. And that brings us to one of the most misunderstood bedtime foods of all. It's served in millions of homes every single evening. Many people even believe it helps them sleep better, but according to many cardiologists and sleep specialists, eating a very large, heavy meal just before going to bed may not be doing your heart any favors. Why? Now let me ask you something that many people have never thought about. Have you ever eaten a large dinner, leaned back in your favorite chair, and thought, "I'll sleep better because I won't wake up hungry"? It sounds perfectly reasonable. In fact, millions of adults over 70 do exactly that every night. But what if eating your biggest meal just an hour before bed is forcing your body to work overtime when it should be recovering? Here's what happens. Sleep is when your body shifts into repair mode. Your heart rate gradually slows, your blood pressure naturally dips, your digestive system begins to rest, and countless recovery processes take place. But when you eat a very large, heavy meal immediately before lying down, your digestive system suddenly has a tremendous amount of work to do at exactly the time your body is preparing for rest. Now, a large meal itself doesn't cause a stroke, but consistently overeating late at night may contribute to weight gain, poorer blood sugar control, acid reflux, disturbed sleep, and higher cardiovascular risk over time in some people. Think of your body like a factory. During the day, every department is working at full speed. At night, many departments begin maintenance and repairs. But if a massive shipment suddenly arrives just before closing time, the workers have to stay busy instead of performing routine maintenance. Your digestive system experiences something remarkably similar. Instead of gradually slowing down for the night, it continues processing large amounts of food while you're trying to sleep. One 76-year-old man admitted he skipped lunch almost every day because he stayed busy around the house. By evening, he was so hungry that dinner became enormous. He often ate until he felt completely full, then went to bed less than an hour later. For years, he believed this routine was harmless. After discussing his eating habits with his physician and a registered dietitian, he gradually shifted more of his calories earlier in the day and made dinner lighter. Within several weeks, he reported sleeping more comfortably, experiencing less nighttime heartburn, and waking with more energy. The goal wasn't eating less. The goal was eating smarter. Sometimes changing when we eat can be just as important as changing what we eat. But here's something even more surprising. The next bedtime food isn't technically a food at all. It's something millions of older adults drink every evening because they believe it helps them relax. Some even say they can't fall asleep without it. Have you ever enjoyed a glass or two of alcohol before bed because you thought it would help you sleep? Many people notice that alcohol makes them feel sleepy, and that's true, but feeling sleepy isn't the same thing as getting restorative sleep. While alcohol may help some people fall asleep more quickly, it can also disrupt normal sleep architecture later in the night. It may increase nighttime awakenings, reduce sleep quality, and contribute to breathing problems during sleep in some individuals. Poor sleep quality has been associated with higher blood pressure, reduced cardiovascular health, and other medical conditions over time. There's another important consideration. Alcohol may interact with certain medications commonly prescribed after the age of 70, including medications used for blood pressure, diabetes, anxiety, sleep disorders, and heart disease. That's why older adults should always discuss alcohol consumption with their healthcare provider, especially if they're taking prescription medications. One retired engineer believed his nightly glass of whiskey was the only reason he could sleep. When he later participated in a sleep evaluation because of constant daytime fatigue, he learned that although alcohol helped him fall asleep faster, it was also contributing to fragmented sleep throughout the night. Working with his physician, he gradually developed healthier evening habits that improved both his sleep quality and his daytime energy. Sometimes the habit we believe is helping us may actually be working against us. But we've finally reached the food that surprises almost everyone. In fact, many older adults intentionally eat it every night because they've heard for years that it's one of the healthiest bedtime snacks available. Some TV programs recommend it, friends recommend it, even family members encourage it. Yet, depending on your personal medical history, portion size, and the rest of your diet, it may not always be the ideal choice before sleep. Now we've reached the food I mentioned at the very beginning, the one that surprises more people than almost anything else. Have you ever eaten a large bowl of cheese, full-fat yogurt, or several slices of cheese with crackers just before going to bed because you heard it was a healthy source of calcium and protein? If you have, you're certainly not alone. Dairy foods can absolutely be part of a heart-healthy diet for many people. In fact, they provide important nutrients like calcium, protein, and vitamin B12. The issue isn't that dairy is bad. The issue is that portion size, food choice, and timing matter, especially for older adults with conditions like high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, elevated cholesterol, or acid reflux. For example, eating a large, high-fat, high-sodium cheese platter late at night is very different from having a moderate serving of plain yogurt earlier in the evening. Many aged cheeses contain significant amounts of sodium. Some full-fat dairy products are also high in saturated fat. Depending on a person's overall eating pattern and medical history, regularly consuming large portions of these foods late at night may make it harder to maintain healthy cholesterol levels or blood pressure over time. Again, this isn't about one evening. It's about the habits that quietly repeat themselves year after year. Think about how small habits shape long-term health. If you brush your teeth once, you don't expect perfect dental health. If you exercise once, you don't expect perfect fitness. And if you eat one unhealthy snack, you shouldn't expect immediate disease. Health is usually the result of thousands of small decisions, not one dramatic event. That's why cardiologists focus so much on everyday routines, because routines become lifestyles, and lifestyles influence long-term risk. One retired couple believed they were eating the perfect bedtime snack every evening. They would sit together after dinner with several large slices of aged cheese, crackers, processed meats, and sweet tea while watching television. It became their tradition. Nothing seemed wrong until routine medical visits showed that both of them were struggling with uncontrolled blood pressure and rising cholesterol despite taking medications. Their physician didn't tell them to eliminate every favorite food forever. Instead, he encouraged them to look at the entire pattern of their evening meals. They began serving smaller portions, replacing processed snacks with fresh vegetables, unsalted nuts in moderation, or plain yogurt with berries on some evenings instead. They also started finishing dinner earlier and avoided eating heavy meals immediately before bed. Over the following months, alongside regular exercise, medication adherence, and other healthy lifestyle changes, both reported sleeping better and feeling more energetic during the day. The lesson wasn't that one specific food had caused their health problems. The lesson was that small improvements made consistently often create meaningful results over time. Now let's quickly review today's 6 bedtime habits. We talked about salty processed snacks and how excessive sodium may contribute to higher blood pressure in many people. We discussed sugary desserts and why frequent late-night sugar may make blood sugar management more challenging for some older adults. We explored oversized portions of naturally sweet foods and the importance of balance rather than excess. We looked at processed meats and why limiting heavily processed foods may support long-term cardiovascular health. We talked about large, heavy dinners and how eating too much too close to bedtime may interfere with sleep quality and overall metabolic health. And finally, we discussed high-fat, high-sodium bedtime snacks, reminding ourselves that moderation, timing, and overall eating patterns matter far more than fearing any single food. Notice something important. None of these foods automatically cause a stroke. Stroke develops through a combination of many risk factors over time, but your evening routine is one of the few things you can actually influence. Every healthier choice becomes another investment in your future. Every balanced meal becomes another opportunity to support your heart, your brain, and your blood vessels. And after the age of 70, those opportunities become more valuable than ever. If you have high blood pressure, diabetes, kidney disease, elevated cholesterol, or a history of heart disease or stroke, it's always worth asking your physician or registered dietitian whether your current eating habits are supporting your specific health goals. Sometimes a few simple adjustments are all it takes to make a meaningful difference. Remember, healthy aging isn't about chasing miracle foods. It isn't about following frightening headlines. And it certainly isn't about eliminating every food you enjoy. It's about building habits that you can maintain for years, habits that support better sleep, steadier blood pressure, healthier blood sugar, and a stronger cardiovascular system. Your heart works every second of every day. Your brain depends on healthy blood flow every moment of your life. Taking care of both doesn't begin with one dramatic decision. It begins with tonight's dinner, and tomorrow night's, and the night after that. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing for more evidence-informed videos on healthy aging, stroke prevention, heart health, and practical nutrition tips. And before you leave, I'd love to hear from you. How old are you, and which of today's 6 bedtime foods surprised you the most? Have you already changed your evening eating habits, or is there one change you're planning to make this week? Leave your answer in the comments below. Your experience may inspire someone else to take the first step toward a healthier future. Thank you for watching. Take good care of yourself. Have a peaceful night, and I'll see you in the next video.